the actions are nowhere near where the place is. John E. Ponderosa, half on Joshua View, Arizona.
Well, if you can't beat them, join them. The athletes taking part in the Sunlight Parade race have been running at this pace every day for 12 days. They've covered well over 100 miles, but surely they can't keep it up. I can't.
But there's been no problem so far for Paulo Catarino of Portugal. He's yet to finish outside the top 8. The yellow vest holder is looking good, and he has a 3-minute cushion. Closest to Catarino is Vladimir Kotov. The Soviet army officer is gritting his teeth to keep in touch. And at last we've got a British challenger. Paul Evans is ready to attack. He's won 2 of the last 4 stages.
Hello again. Well, people are starting to question the sanity of the athletes taking part in the Sunlight Parade race. For 12 days, they've been running at this pace, 5-minute miles, all the way from Glasgow into the Midlands. They'll end up in Westminster. How can they keep it going? It's such a demanding course. Today is stage 13, and yet again, they're back on the treadmill.
The total mileage they faced when they raced out of Glasgow 2 weeks ago was 237. It was an international field of great quality. And at the finish, 43-year-old Kim Kosgei became the first man to win a stage. On Monday, Kosgei in his yellow race leader's vest again blasted his way to the front. Katabi of Morocco went with him. But all wasn't sweetness and light on the course. At the end of it though, the Kenyan claimed his second stage win in Motherwell. On the road to Annan, Kosgei went again. The British athletes thought the pace was madness. Katabi was again the Kenyan shadow. And at the end of the 10 miles from Lockerbie, they were sprinting. Kosgei took it on a photograph. But there was real drama in the last miles of stage 4. Kosgei, unhappy with Dos Santos of Brazil running behind him, struck out. The Kenyan's method of what he described as disciplining him continued at the end of the stage. The judge's penalty was first 2 minutes, then effectively 20, after reconsidering the Kenyan's crime. He was relegated to last place in the stage. It cost him the yellow vest. Many of the other athletes thought it should have cost him the race, and he should have been thrown out. Sokov of the Soviet Union took the yellow vest into stage 5, and now the race was really on in the Lake District. Magnificent scenery and magnificent performances from Dos Santos, Figueres of Mexico and Katabi. Dos Santos took the stage, Katabi the yellow vest, but the British athletes were insisting they'd be there at the death in Westminster. Day 6 took the athletes from Windermere to Kendal, though few of them would have had time to admire the countryside. Morocco's Alabi Katabi put some more distance between himself and the chasing pack, with an immense performance on the Cumbrian hills. But Portugal's Paulo Catarino was next home and waiting for Katabi to falter. But while the other athletes warmed down in the tent, some of the British boys were exercising their right arms. Kendal to Kirkby Lonsdale, day 7 of the Sun Life Great Race, and it saw Kip Kosgei back doing the business. Shropshire sheep farmer Bill Bedell decided it was a time to make his mark. But coming into Kirkby Lonsdale, it was Vigueras, Caterino, Kotov and Katavi who were chasing Kosgei. The Kenyan took it comfortably, but the finish had come sooner than he had expected.
I thought we were going for 14 miles, and so suddenly I saw the finish line.
You thought the course was 14 miles today?
Yeah, you know. So I think it is tomorrow.
Day 8 took the athletes from Bolton's 19th century civic splendour through the Lancashire countryside to Manchester. One man not there was Ireland's Jerry Keenan, the Sun Life Great Race's first major casualty. His Achilles tendon had forced him out. But Delmir dos Santos was looking stronger than ever, and his bouncing stride was to take him into Manchester well ahead of the rest. But this was the day that Alavi Katavi began to pay his debts. It was the beginning of the end for the Moroccan. Paolo Caterino took 3rd and the yellow vest for the first time. The journey from Manchester to Stockport, just under 7 miles, was to provide the Sun Life Great Race with its first British winner. Paul Evans from Lowestoft had had a call from his employers demanding him go back to work that morning, but he put the phone down, lost his job, but picked up £1,000 for his win. The 13 miles from Stockport to Macclesfield started with smiles and high jinks in the neutralised zone. But for John Graham of Scotland, it was to end in tears. Forced to call for the broom wagon, stage 10 was to be his last. And Alavi Katavi was in dire trouble as well. His foot injury was playing havoc with his running, and this was to be the final effort for him in the Sun Life Great Race. Delmir dos Santos renewed his relationship with the winner's rostrum in Macclesfield. He was climbing in the overall standings. His race was just beginning. But Steve Brace's adventure was at an end.
It's just too much abrasion between the sole of the foot, and I think I'm going to call it a day.
And Delmir dos Santos it was up at the front when the athletes started out on the next day of the trip to Stoke-on-Trent from Leek. The toughest stage in the race so far was the verdict of those that finished. Even Delmir was feeling bad, but the rest were feeling worse. The Brazilian won again. But Caterino was the key. He was second home and increasing his overall advantage with every stride. Stoke to Stafford, day 12 of the Sun Life Great Race. From now to London, the route is flat and the race will be even faster. Past Isaac Walton's cottage, the runners ground into the Staffordshire countryside. Second overall, Kotov was straining every nerve to catch Caterino in yellow. But it was Britain's Paul Evans who claimed his second stage with his plate when he bounded into Stafford. Even Paolo Caterino, home in 4th, pulled on the yellow vest once again. Can anybody catch him? The Sun Life Great Race rides on. Well, it's no surprise that some of the athletes have already fallen by the wayside. This is a really demanding course, and the Sun Life Great Race has created a new kind of athlete. Athletes that come out and race every day, day after day, mile after mile. Today is stage 13. They'll be racing from Penkridge to Wolverhampton. It's close on a half marathon. Yet again, they have to get the legs going and pound the roads. So let's have a look at the course. The start is St Michael's Church Square, and there were a few asking for divine help over the last few days. The village is en route, Brewood and Codsall, the summit of the King of the Hills at 5.2 miles, and then the finish in Wolverhampton.